Hey everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Level Playing Field podcast. We have a great conversation today. We're gonna stay on the topic of sports, but this is kind of dive into our addiction conversations that we've been having over the last couple of weeks.
Like rope the dope. Muhammad Ali used to talk about rope the dope, right? So that meant he would just lay on the ropes, and the dope who was hitting them would lose, just hit them and hit them and hit them and wear themselves out. And then Muhammad Ali would come out like a movie star and knock the guy out. You know what I'm saying to you? That's what rope the dope used to be. But Mike Tyson's running around Pennsylvania. He thinks rope the dope is dope. You know, he's in the state of Pennsylvania this past week, meeting with the governor and all the powers that be. Mike Tyson has a dope company, and he wants to legalize dope in the state of Pennsylvania. Wow,
Yep.
what a spokesman for dope. But at the same time, we're hearing from the Tucker Carlson show and a doctor there that the NBA, believe it or not, has a zero drug testing policy for marijuana, right? And then go ahead, tell about your research that you did.
So we're going to go through the drug policies for all the major sports leagues and talk about how, number one, also the NCAA, we talked about this last week, repealed. Now they said gambling was legal for all the student athletes. That lasted 30 days. Every single, they had 2/3 vote. All the presidents of all the universities said this is a terrible idea. Things are going to go back to the way they should be. Thank God someone actually, using their brains out there. And then finally we have a little pit testing.
Those presidents are all watching our show, so they're getting good advice,
Exactly. Finally, somebody's talking to them with reason and logic here. Okay, so
we're watching Level Playing Field. That's what they're doing.
Yes, jumping into it. So we're talking about the drug policies for the major sports leagues, the four majors in America: NBA, MLB, NFL, and the NHL. So I didn't even know this.
And I'm sure Major League Soccer is the same.
I'm sure I didn't look into that because I want to keep it America centric, but that's obviously world. But okay, so we were listening to Tucker Carlson had on a psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Daniel Amen, and he specializes in studying the brain using SPECT scans, which are single photon emission computed tomography scans of the brain. Don't ask me what that means, but he can basically go in and look at your brain and see what level of toxicity you have in the brain. If it's alkaline, if it's, whatever's going on inside of your brain chemistry. So in this interview, it was fascinating, and we'll touch on a few different things that he talked about, but it was fascinating that he brought up that the NBA does not test for marijuana.
Oh my God.
And I was like, that's crazy. That's actually crazy. I mean, let alone the fact it is legal in, I don't know how many, 30 states or so, but there are franchises in states, Pennsylvania being one of them, where marijuana is medicinally legal, but not recreationally legal. So how is that possible? How can you have a sports league that travels the country, having franchises in all these different states, legalized and illegal as well, and not test your athletes? So,
but worse, Andrew. But worse. How could the coaches? How could the owners? And how could the league, knowing the negative effect of marijuana, it shrinks your brain, it causes psychosis, all kind of mental illness, and it disrupts family life because they're living in the twilight zone basically because they're on a high, and then to get up for a game, I just found out they're smoking another dope that brings them up. So these guys are going from state to state, in Pennsylvania too, right? And they're using this dope before and after games to bring them up and to bring them down.
Mhm.
and it's a crime. It's a crime, for God's sake. But you would
So,
think, you would think, and this goes to the NFL. The NFL has a fine. This is what you're going to get into. The
yep.
NFL. Go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead. Keep explaining.
So just really quick, running down the leagues here. So the MLB has their regards to marijuana is the same as alcohol. So if you have a random drug test and you have marijuana in your system, they treat it the exact same as if you have alcohol in your system, which is, I mean, like, don't drive on it, but like, you're good to go. No fine, no nothing. Carry about your day. The NFL has a threshold. They recently lowered it, but they still have a threshold and they do test for it. And if you do test positive for a very small amount of marijuana in your system, you get a $15,000 fine. They are the only league in America that still has a fine. The NBA does not test. Point blank. End of sentence. The NHL has no suspension and treats it as a health/behavioral issue. That's directly from their CPA. So the the fact of the matter is that I like to I like to go to the MLB when I do this analogy, because they, in their bylaws, they say it's the same as alcohol. Well, what do we know about alcohol? We know when you drink too much alcohol, they call it alcohol poisoning. Alcohol is a toxic foreign substance to the body. So if you're saying that it's the same as alcohol, you're going to say that this is a toxic form of outside substance to the body. Now, I want to be very clear when we're having this conversation. We're not talking about everyday citizens. We're not talking about your, just any U.S. citizen and your rights. We're talking about the highest level performing athletes who are basically superhuman and have the highest level of care, health, nutrition, um, fitness, recovery, everything. And the fact of the matter is that if you're putting that much effort into your body to perform at that high level, I mean, baseball players, hitting a baseball is like the hardest thing to do in the entire world. Playing in the NBA, you have to be an athletic freak to play in the NBA. Your body you have to have like 0% fat to like run like they do, and to the conditioning level, and not only the conditioning, but like the mental stability to stay focused and perform in front of thousands of people every single night all around the country. If you're smoking weed, you can't do that to the effect that your millions, tens of millions of dollar paycheck,
Pause.
is signed you up to do. And the doctor in Tucker's interview, he cited one of his patients, and he said it's a public figure, and he's released his information, so this isn't a HIPAA violation at all. But you talked about Julius Randle, who is a prominent player in the NBA, and he said how he's helped him work through his addiction and his marijuana use over the years. And he said that when he first started, he thought it helped him play better, it made him more relaxed and all of that. And basically what he said is it began to really affect his home life, and say that he would go home and smoke and relax, but he was so zoned out that it was hurting his relationship with his wife, with his family. He's checked out, he's not present. And then obviously, you have a bad home life. It's really hard to perform in your career. So then you go in and start playing in these games. His play suffered. Play suffers in the NBA. You are out of the league so fast. So he was able to, luckily, turn himself around, realize that he plays better when he's not high, and then, really transform his career and his family life. So that's a really good example of someone who, really thought this was going to help him, really thought this was the right thing to do, but then, later down the line grows, matures, and finds out that, actually, while this might have helped me in the short term, this is not a long term.
It didn't
It's
help
not a
me.
long term.
The thing is, Andrew. The thing is that the NBA the NFL, the all of the professional franchises, MLB and the hockey guys and the soccer guys, and even the NCAA, they all know what marijuana does, and what it leads to. On top of that, people who start smoking dope, okay, they progress into other drugs because it just is. The large majority of them stop using marijuana, and then before you know it, they're using all this other garbage, whatever it is, or whatever you call it. And then before you know it, they're in a grave on top of that. They're addicted to the garbage, to this devil. And to have these professional franchises letting their athletes participate in this, they don't really care about them. They don't care about them. And then the owners and the coaches, the same. And then here's the kicker. We've been talking about gambling. The last 2 or 3 of our podcasts because it's epidemic right now. All you do is you see these ads. So you got these suckers that are betting on these athletes that aren't normal. They're using drugs like you can't believe. Look, I happened to catch the end of the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, and there was like 3 or 4 minutes left in the game. I just watched it. And I had my Sunday. I went to church. I just turned it on just to see. And in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the game, right, there was chaos. The game was moving fast. The Cowboys had the ball 4th and 1. The score was tied. Right? They throw a pass to a guy who was a receiver. The ball hit the guy in the chest. Now, if you're a receiver, I was a tight end in high school, you always know to use your hands to catch a ball, right? Here's a guy who's a pro making millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars, and the ball hit him in the chest and it flowed. But what? 2 things there. How did the coach kick a field goal? You're winning. The game's tied 21-21 with 3 minutes left, and you don't kick a field goal? I mean, hello. But the kid who had the ball bounce, he just started acting so out of it. His reaction was so out of it. I said to myself, I guarantee you that guy's on dope. You know what I'm saying here? But to make a long story short, if you watch these guys performing, how could you be gambling on these guys, for God's sake? I mean, there's people out there risking their families' mortgage payments to their homes, to their kids' tuition, to their food that's going to be on the table on a bunch of guys. And trust me, it is epidemic right now. I mean, it is epidemic to hear that the NFL's biggest punishment is they're going to fine a guy $15,000 when you're making $15 million. Oh, who cares?
Which is pennies. Pennies. You're making $150 a game. Like, who cares?
It's like a gift. But the point of the matter, the current administration in our country is making some great steps towards these drug lords, right? They shut down the border to stop the drugs that were coming in from Mexico. The way it seems, that's pretty secure now and it's under control. They're even bombing these boats, which in some ways I'm against, in some ways I'm for. If there's cartels bringing in illegal drugs into our country, but I don't know if we should be killing them. I think we should confiscate it, take their boats on them, and put them in prison. You understand? But the point of the matter is there's a great effort going on because us parents who have children, and us people who care about the athletes, we care about the kids at Penn State, we care about the kids at Pitt, we care about the kids at Temple, Lehigh, all the schools. We love them. We care about them. We don't want to see, these drugs just flowing in our communities. But until professional sports and the NCAA and the athletes take this seriously, which I believe they're not, because evidently it's a joke to all these owners of these leagues and coaches and the leagues in themselves, Andrew. So how do we expect the drug epidemic and everything that it leads to in our country, okay, to be addressed if the biggest, highest paid stars that everybody looks up to, and they're even acting like it's Hollywood now. They all got these different web presences and they communicate and they advertise on their own. It's like Hollywood. It's become like Hollywood. So what I would say is, look, as the governor, I constantly give ideas to governors, to the NCAA, to the conferences, to the powers that be. I know the guys in McCormick's office are watching this show from time to time. Okay, but we've been sending it out to the different congressmen and the other the Democrats and the Republicans. We're sending this stuff out to them. But until our government puts their foot down and says, hey, marijuana is still illegal. It's going to be illegal in the state of Pennsylvania. The guys can't be smoking dope down in Philadelphia at an NBA game or at a Major League Baseball game or an NFL game or a hockey game or a soccer game. Look, marijuana is illegal in the state of Pennsylvania, and it needs to be addressed in a very, very serious manner. And if they're not, well, there needs to be oversight, Andrew. There needs to be oversight. So now, the government needs to intervene. Don't look at it. It's a lot easier to intervene in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania than to drop a bomb on a boat in the Caribbean. You understand? So they need to send those, what are the name of those agents? That everyone's afraid of now. They need to send
the ICE agents.
They need to send the ICE agents to arrest all those NBA players. It would be great. I think it would be great. Go arrest them all and say, hey, you can't be doing dope in Pennsylvania. You understand? I mean, for God's sake, we're trying. And that's a little extreme, but I would tell you, have the undercover FBI guys and the drug enforcement guys go pay them a visit. Go knock at their door and say, listen, man, this drug, okay, we understand the NBA says it's okay to have dope in you, but you can't be smoking dope in Pennsylvania. We're going to lock you up. You understand? Right. We're going to arrest you. We're going to handcuff you. We're going to drag you down to the judge, and we're going to put you in front of him. That's what needs to be done, in my opinion. You understand? Because then they'll get a message like, oh, man, this is serious. I better stop smoking dope. If the owners aren't going to do it, just like the NCAA listened to us, they just rescinded letting college athletes gamble. The NBA, all the professional have to listen to us. They need to make it a crime and illegal to smoke dope, not just for the good of the athletes, but for the good of all of the young men and women that look up to these people. Do you understand?
So now let's tie these two things together. So as we've been talking about gambling and everything, right? So you kind of touched on it there. As legalized gambling continues to grow in our country, and we've already ironed out all the problems that come along with that. How can you now? I personally haven't gambled on sports in a long time, but so I personally can't justify knowing this now. And I just learned all these statistics a couple days ago now. But after understanding,
thanks to Tucker Carlson.
Thank you, Tucker. So thanks to that interview and actually then going on and doing my own research, I come back and I say, okay, how can I go and put $1,000 on an NBA game? Or how can I do these prop bets? How can I go and do that when I know that somebody on that floor is probably high? Because why wouldn't you be? These guys it's crazy. And this is, again, it's every single week. It's ripe for a scandal, because then you're okay, how can Vegas make these lines? How can they say this guy's going to get, this many points, rebounds, assists, but this dude just went and smoked a blunt before the game. So he's you don't know what's going on in his personal life and all this and that.
They're making $20 million a year and they're fixing games.
They're fixing.
They got their buddies. Well, who does something like that? Someone who smokes dope.
There are so many layers. There are so many layers to this. Exactly. So your point being, how many of these gambling scandals are rolled over on top of dudes smoking before the game and doing things that aren't being tested for. And there's a handful of, it's 2026. You can get synthetic weed, you can get the real weed, you can get all kinds of different synthetic stuff, you can get drug tests that cover things up. If you look hard enough, it's out there. You can find a way to bypass these tests and all of that. So and these guys are millionaires. You have to understand, they have the resources. It's not you and me. It's not you and me sitting here trying to pass a drug test for your job that you're making $50,000 at. These are millionaires. They can get access to the things that strip the chemicals out of their body to make them look clean. Doesn't mean they're not doing it. There's always someone a step ahead of the guy checking for the thing that you're.
Which brings me to the performance enhancing drugs, Andrew.
Right.
Which brings me to the performance enhancing drugs. So if they're smoking dope, right? They're smoking dope to get up, but there's no way, shape, or form that they're not using performance enhancing drugs. And oh, by the way, they're masking it. And it seems to me, whoever's testing these professional athletes and these college athletes, it's like a comedy club. They aren't. Look, they're not interested in finding them. They don't want to find them or shut them down or do anything because it brings negative publicity to their organization, and that might lower the value of their professional franchise because they got a bunch of drug addicts playing professional sports, and all of them on their.
It's all about branding. It's all about branding. It's like, oh, we're the league that we're so progressive. Like, we allow our players to smoke weed, and we're on the cutting edge. This is awesome. Branding. That is a brand. That is someone putting out a positive spin on. We allow our players to do drugs, and you have to pay top dollar to watch our players not at their peak play. Why do you go to a sporting event? Do you go there to watch the JV team? No, you don't pay to watch JV sports. You pay to watch the best players play at the highest level, right? So if you're not getting that, and I think it's Michael Jordan. It's his famous quote, right? He goes, he was always famous for going out there, playing every single night, not taking rest unless he was hurt, but not taking rest just because he was going to take rest. And he said, I went out and I did that every single night because there was always some guy who saved up his money, took his whole family there. That was the Christmas present. That was the birthday present. That night, it was their chance to see Michael Jordan play. And he's like, I'm not going to take that opportunity away from those kids because you don't know what them seeing me play at that high level, you don't know what that will inspire. And that is what is lost in all of this. There's no one who are sitting there and thinking.
I wish you'd use a better example of Michael Jordan. Use Dan Marino. He's a real man, married, 8 children, but he's the wrong guy to use as an example. But what I would say to you on that, right? So it seems as though dopamine from my daughter. She's working in, like I said, to be a neuro-ophthalmologist. It seems as though that's the common thread here, that all of these guys that are smoking dope and gambling, right, are all looking for this some sort of a high in their brains to get them to feel good, to perform good, to
genuine excitement.
Some sort of high of sort. But the proof is in the pudding. Here's an athlete who played in the NBA, and it was great that he testified that he is playing better off of marijuana, off of dope, off of the dope that he was taking, and he's actually has a great relationship with his wife and his children now, and he's a great father. So what I would say to you, I don't know the man, but I would tell you, us men who don't smoke dope, we know how great it is to have a great relationship with your wife and your children. And that's why I'm a total totally against the use of any drugs in athletics for all of the reasons we're talking about. But going into obesity. So the NFL don't care, or they slap them on the hand if they smoke dope. But trust me, they're using performance enhancing drugs and speed and you name it, they're using it. You understand? They can even use dope now to speed, which is absurd. You understand? But here's the kicker. Now on a football field, I was a lineman. I came in as a linebacker. I played linebacker, ended up being a lineman. But so now right now there's 10 positions on a football field. There's 22 positions in a game. 10 of them are linemen. And if you look at the linemen, they're all obese. So here we have the same situation, Andrew, as these men are obese, and all of the studies show what obesity does. I mean, that doctor, he gave the University of Pittsburgh a lot of credit because they've done a study about obese NFL players. The University of Pittsburgh did, right? So, and the University of Pittsburgh, by the way, great university for inventions and in the medical and man, just awesome stuff that they came out with this study, and it was an awesome study that obesity actually makes your brain 8 years older. If you're obese, your brain is 8 years older.
That is if you're overweight. If you're obese, so I have the stat right here. So if you're overweight, you have 4% less brain volume, which equates to your brain being 8 years older. If you are obese, you have 8% less brain volume and 16 years the senior of your brain. That's not a small number.
And then go to the heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
The heart disease, for God's sake. The heart disease, the diabetes, right? Mm-hmm. It's absurd. Look, my boy, one of my roommates, was Tony Siragusa, legendary NFL player. Man, they had the best defense ever with Ray Lewis and those cats down with the Baltimore Ravens. He used to come here and fish and hang out at my farm. And I love the guy. He's my boy. He was my roommate at the University of Pittsburgh. Wrestler, came out of New Jersey. You understand? State champ. He came to Pitt. He was 6'3", 240, 250 pounds. Man, the guy could move. He was healthy, tough kid. Went through college, had an injury or two. Really didn't come to be in college. Had a real good career, but wasn't even drafted. And that's when they had 12 rounds. Wasn't drafted. Was a free agent for the Baltimore Colts. Right. Made the team as a rookie. Was making $65,000 a year, and he was the lowest paid starting nose guard in professional football at the time. Tony was, right? And I was hanging out. He's one of my boys. We talk. He's from Kenilworth, New Jersey. He'd come home and come over, go fishing with me, go hunting with me. We had a lot of fun together. God rest his soul. But that's the sadness. I want to cry. I went. All of a sudden, man, when he got into the NFL, he made it. Started making some decent money. He ballooned up to 350 pounds. They say he was more, but that's where the maximum weight on the scale, I think they told me was 350, but they said he weighed like 380. You know what I'm saying? I used to go, Andrew, listen, he's funny. You laugh. What you saw is what you got. And part of his personality from hanging out with me, I used to slap him around and make him go get me sandwiches and stuff like that when he was a kid. But he'd hang out with me. We had so much fun together. But I go to a restaurant with him once, and we come in, and he says, get me the menu, he says. And the waitress brings in the menu. He says, no, get me the menu. Bring the whole menu out. He says, they put a table on the side of us. Man, he got a bottle of wine. We ate for like 5 hours, 6 hours.
That's amazing.
You know what I'm saying? Just me and him. Funny story. But listen, he's in a grave, bro. 55 years old, beautiful wife, beautiful kids. Young Anthony, we're playing on a national championship team at Villanova. Great kid. His dad's gone. I mean, the NFL, he didn't need to weigh 380 pounds. You understand? And what they did was they played off of it. They played off it. They should have put their foot down and say, no. You got to weigh, you're 6'4". You got to weigh 290. He never had to weigh more than 280, 290 pounds. He would have probably played better at a lighter weight. Do you understand, Andrew? So the whole obesity thing is real, man. I mean, if you got family, you got friends, you know coaches, you know people, I've seen it trickle down. And here's my biggest effect. It's having a negative multiplier effect. So I'm watching these college kids now, right? Man, they're big, overweight, defensive and offensive linemen. Like, what is going on? Do you understand? You just don't need the weight. The weight is going to kill you. It killed Tony Siragusa, for God's sake, and he was invincible. He's one of the toughest cats out there. Played on the greatest defense ever in the NFL. Do you understand? And he's dead. So obesity is only going to lead to an early death. It's going to lead to mental illness. Your brain shrinking. You're gonna end up with Alzheimer's. I mean, they say it increases your chances for dementia and Alzheimer's, for God's sake.
So let me just finish
this one point. So
yes.
I watched a high school game. I told you this, Andrew. So they got the Pennsylvania football championships going on. There's a coal region team. They had a kid about 6 foot. I turned through it. They had a kid 6 foot, 350 pounds playing in a high school football game. I mean, it's great. Listen, it's great that heavier kids are playing football, but I'm seeing a trend that this obesity with these NFL guys is trickling down 100% into college, and you're seeing it in high school, for God's sake. They're in the prime of their lives. That's where you want to teach them to get in shape. Let's get on top of you, because if you remain obese, all of the things that Andrew's talking about right now, you young men, and get them to watch the show. Get those obese athletes that you guys know, and those obese people, come on and watch this program, because it's life threatening. It's life changing. Stop smoking dope and stop being obese. Get in shape, for God's sake. Andrew.
So with that, personal anecdote. When I graduated college, I played lacrosse in college. Obviously, athlete in high school. I never stopped running. I couldn't keep weight on because I was running so much. So when I graduated, I stopped playing sports and everything. I ballooned up. I was 225 pounds, and I looked at myself and I said, I got to change. Now, luckily, being like a lifelong athlete, working out, weights, running, all that, I knew I had that knowledge and how to lose weight healthily, how to do it in a process. Don't do it overnight. Listen, I dropped 50 pounds. It took me about 6 months to a year to drop it and get my body back to where it is. And I've been able to keep that off because I continue a healthy lifestyle through diet, exercise, and obviously just overall health, being outdoors and hard work. So with all of that, with this new obesity epidemic that's going through our country, now we're introduced to these GLP-1s, Ozempic, Wegovy, these new weight loss drugs.
Which is garbage.
It's not sustainable. These drugs, so just for a fun fact, these drugs when they first got approved, it was said that they are going to be a $3 trillion a year industry. And they do not have, I don't care what anyone says, they don't have the information. They don't have the 20-year studies that are going to come out about these drugs. There's already lawsuits. You can all look this up. There are lawsuits pending against all this for people going blind and all kinds of different side effects. But the number one thing, forget all the side effects. Forget all of the things that, you can sue for, you can, push back against the company. Forget all of that. What is it doing to the mental makeup of our country? What are you saying to a group of individuals who is overweight because of diet, because of lifestyle, because they're sedentary?
Well, because it's being promoted, Andrew. It's being promoted in the public eye. You got these super athletes that they're watching in the NFL and in the NCAA, and the guys are 100 pounds overweight. Just look. You
Yep.
just don't
So
don't
now,
do much. Just look. And this has been
and then
going
so
on for 20, 30 years.
yes. So now, what are you saying to a society now, though? What are you saying? You're like, take this drug. It's okay. Just take the drug. You don't have to work out. It's okay. You don't have to eat healthy. It's okay. You don't have to fast and find what works for you and realize your body is a temple and you should treat it like the way that you want it to work. I think there was a really important quote. Actually, I'm going to read this now. There was a really important quote that came out of that interview with Tucker. The doctor said this: before telling people when something is bad, teach them why and then how to get what they want. Okay, so before we just say being fat is bad, being obese is bad. Okay, why? Because you are literally shutting your body down. You are not allowing your body to function at the level that it should. He gave a great example. He was talking to someone, I forget the horse's name. It was a horse owner, and highly competitive, decorated horse, won a bunch of races.
Crown winner, won the Triple
And
Crown last year.
oh, the Triple Crown. Yeah, yes. So he's telling the story, and he's talking to him. They're at some function and whatever, and he goes, "So just a question. So as a trainer, as a horse owner, would you ever feed that horse McDonald's? Would you ever feed that horse junk food? Would you ever give it alcohol? Would you ever, blow smoke in its face?" And obviously they're laughing. They're like, "No, we'd never do that. Like, that'd be crazy. This horse is like a supreme athlete at the highest level, Triple Crown winner, right? Like the highest of highs." And he said, "Why? Why would you never do that?" And the answer is so enlightening. They said, because it would never live up to its potential. When you say it like that, how can you do that to your body? How can you pump yourself full of all these toxins and poisons and things that create all this uneasiness in your body and different, sodium levels spike, sugar levels spike, diabetes, and also now they're linking Alzheimer's. Basically, in America, we're the only place left that calls it Alzheimer's. It's stage 3 diabetes. It is sugar of the brain. It is all the sugar is going directly to your brain, and that is causing all these cognitive abilities to just fade and disintegrate into nothingness. So when you really start looking at it like that, we live in a country where processed foods, ultra processed sugars, high fructose corn syrup, all this stuff. You see people in their 50s, 60s, like dropping of cancer now, of left and right of all kinds of cancers. And you say, why? What is going on? And adding another pharmaceutical drug is not the answer. It is lifestyle, diet, and exercise. And you can do all that. You can do the Wegovy. You can do all that. But what is going to happen? What is going to happen? You're going to lose the weight. Sure, you're going to be skinny. What does that mean? There's anorexic people. They're skinny. They're not healthy. Your body needs to function. You need to figure, and everyone's body's different. And I'm not saying this is easy, because I did it and it was very difficult. And keeping the weight off is also very difficult. But you need to make a decision and say, hey, I want this. I want my body to work correctly, because let me tell you, it feels amazing when your body is operating correctly.
It's really not heart injuries. We're not, I constantly talk about 60 million youth athletes in America every year. 60 million. So 60 million, that's close to 20% of our country every year. And they grow up. And hopefully you guys are watching me. It's real simple. Just do what you did when you were a young athlete. Go out and stretch. Get a good stretch in. I stretch, man. I'm 20 pounds less than what I played football at right now. You understand? I'm about 10 pounds more than what I wrestled at right now. But what I would tell you is I stretch. I do my wrestling stretch. And by the way,
stretching is huge.
By the way, I just want to correct Andrew on one thing. I think the greatest athletes in the world are wrestlers, man. Okay, not basketball.
They are. No, I'll give you that point. Wrestlers are out of control.
I would tell you the I don't care if you were a soccer player, lacrosse player, rugby, you name the sport, tennis. Everybody done a stretch routine. Everybody done an exercise routine. Just real simple. Go back to it. And, you'll bring back your joyful years of being an athlete and that whole flow of it. I have a daughter who's studying to be a doctor, and she's a tremendous athlete. She's a Division I swimmer, right? And I think swimmers are number 2 in the list. Swimming is awesome, man. It's just wow. It's just unbelievable. But what I would tell you is that go back to doing whatever it was that made you feel good when you were in your youth or in your adult. A lot of these competed in college athletics, and even some there's a lot of club and league things that men and women do. Just get on the right track, man. Just stretch, and stretch more often, at least three or 4 times a week, and some push-ups, some sit-ups, just simple stuff. And you can do it. Look, you can do it when you travel. Me, anytime I travel, I don't miss a day. I went out to the Notre Dame Pitt function, and I watched Pitt wrestle Princeton a couple, just recently. And I was up at the hotel. I told my wife I'm going for a walk. I went for my walk. I done my stretch. I walked along the river down at Station Square. It was great. You know what I'm saying? I had a little sweat going. I'm like, oh man, I might want to line up today and play against Notre Dame. I might have done better.
They could have used you.
and those kids were doing. But anyway, and last time I lined up and played against them, we beat them 31-7. Pitt beat Notre Dame 31-7. But to give a shout out to Pitt and Notre Dame, they got 2 of the greatest coaches ever that played in big time games. You got Newt Rockne and Pop Warner at Pitt. Newt Rockne at Notre Dame. So when the Pitt coach had mentioned, we're going to move it to Pitt and Penn State a little bit. So when the Pitt coach mentioned that he didn't care if he got beat by 100 points, he just wanted to win. Georgia Tech and Miami. All of us Pitt people were like, oh, I think Newt Rockne was smiling, but Pop Warner was rolling over in his grave, and all the late great Pitt people. But look at the NIL, Andrew. Moving on to the NIL, right? We got freshmen at Pitt. We got a freshman tailback and a freshman quarterback and a bunch of young guys on the defense standing up. They beat Georgia Tech, but listen, I told you they stink. That ACC is really weak. But how about State College beating 7-3 Nebraska last week? Freshmen catching the ball all over the place, right? So what I would say to you is it's just constant proof of one of the evils that we got to keep pushing for, and the alumni at Pitt and Penn State have to say, hey, look, what did the NIL do to us? We were supposed to win a national championship. We had a $15-20 million payroll. No one knows how much they're paying these guys, and they miserably stunk. Right? Then their coach gets fired. He's running around at Virginia Tech like he's a star. And he's a perfect coach for a school like Virginia Tech, right? They're happy to go 6-6, right? It's a great thing what State College did by firing him because he has never been there and done that. He was at Vanderbilt. He had a couple good seasons at Vanderbilt. But look, Penn State needs to be like Ohio State and Michigan. We talked about that, Andrew. They posted up all these Heisman Trophy winners. I think like the most Ohio State had more Heisman Trophy winners than any school in America. You know what I'm saying? So look, in order to get up to that level, and he was getting there, but he was never going to get there because he's never been there. So Penn State needs a coach who's played on a national championship team and has coached a national championship team. Don't worry about what the kids want. Okay? I know the kids are calling for this coach that's there right now to stay. Oh, boy, you don't want that. He can't even tell the guys to run to the end zone and catch a punt when they're playing against the number 1 team in the country. I mean, let alone you got to hire him as your coach. Look, the kids will love the guy who they hire. And I'm telling you, it's Mike Monchek. I'm supposed to be up in Scranton with Jerry Bowarski and Stanley Bowarski today for a function. They're from Scranton, too. Great town. He's from Pennsylvania. He played on the national championship team. That's the guy who needs to get the head job up in State College, and they'll shine. Same thing in Pittsburgh. We need to get rid of this guy, and we need to get a real coach at the University of Pittsburgh. One of the guys who's played for national championships or number 1 ranked teams, from the 70s and from the 80s. And there's plenty of guys out there. You got Matt Cavanaugh and Russ Grin. And I mean, shit, I think for that type of money, I think Dan Wood might even come and coach himself. But the point of the matter is, and I know there's so many universities right now, Andrew, they don't, Florida, LSU, I mean, you just go down the line. There's some great institutions that have great football programs, right? and look, get the alumni, get a guy who's been there and done that and has felt the community and has felt the university and has felt the state and the alumni. Don't settle for less, because if you do, you're going to be miserable and you're going to be right back in the same, I don't want to say it, same different day. So don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Get a great coach. I don't care if it takes you long. And how about the audacity? How about the audacity of Franklin talking about he's going to be bringing these recruits that Penn State paid for, that paid him to recruit, and brought him up to State College, the beautiful, listen, man, what a great campus. I mean, to be up at State College is, wow, what a great experience. And for any kid to be lured now down to Virginia Tech, I mean, come on now. That just is a cherry on top of how bad of a guy he really is. Andrew, your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, yesterday the number one running back in Pennsylvania flopped from Penn State to Virginia Tech.
Oh my God!
Just happened. Messiah Minkins from Harrisburg, right? Yeah, he put out his thing. He's going to Virginia Tech. So that
is such a crock, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's hard. It's hard because it's money. It's money, and you know that's what it is. It's hard because, well, I don't think there's any right answer. To be honest with you, I don't think there's a right answer right now because Penn State doesn't have a coach.
Well, the point of the matter is, yeah, he has no business. Recruiting these Pennsylvania kids that were on the Penn State dime. Those kids came up to State College on a Penn State dime, on the tradition of being part of that great institution and the national championships and that great alumni that they have. And that is a sin to me to hear that, because I was seeing this guy walking around like, okay, he's a loser. He's He's done nothing. He played at some little school somewhere. Didn't do. I mean, he's a chump. He had no business being up. Listen, he had no business being up. Him or O'Brien had no business being up at State College. State College has had some of the most tremendous athletes and some of the most tremendous Pennsylvania studs, tough guys, man, tough Pennsylvania athletes up there. And for them to hire those two dorks, I told you what, that O'Brien's won in like 9 at Boston College. Mm-hmm. So what are they going to do? Take their time. I'm glad that they're taking their time. But in the interim, that Franklin has the gall to start stealing Pennsylvania kids that are primed to go to Pennsylvania or even to the University of Pittsburgh or to Temple. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. He's down there. He should be part of that Virginia formula and part of recruiting in Virginia and bringing Virginia Tech back to their glory. They had some great Virginia athletes. They had a guy, he played for the Buffalo Bills, Bruce Smith. He's a Virginia athlete, man. He was a big-time player. They had Michael Vick, Virginia player. Virginia's got plenty of great athletes. Get the Virginia athletes. Keep them in Virginia. Don't mess around and start stealing our Pennsylvania kids, especially when you were on Pennsylvania's, they were on State College's budget when they were recruited and presented, and that makes me sick that happened.
It's very weird. It's a very weird world we live in, and I don't even think we've started to see the worst of it with people going to Virginia Tech from Penn State right now, because the new transfer, there's only one transfer portal this year. It's in January, and I don't know what's going to happen. I genuinely do not know what's going to happen, because I don't even know. I don't know. And that's, I think, the hardest part is I genuinely don't know, because I don't know. I don't know the money situations. I don't know what they're offering, what they can offer. I don't know how it works. In reality, I can tell you like how it works. I can go online and I can read about it. But like behind the scenes, I don't know how it works. Like, is he reaching out to people right now saying like I know he's already going to take 2 or 3 people from the staff. I think they already left. I don't know if they actually left yet. It was Andy Frank and some other one. He was like the basically the GM of Penn State. So he's taken him. He's taken somebody else, and I don't know if they're gone already or if they're sticking around. But it's a very weird world that we live in college football because it's not like the NFL when it's like, okay, there's a time you can't tamper, you can't go and steal other coaches, you can't talk to anybody. There's no rules. There's no rules for anything, so you can go off and you can do anything and poach people because they're not football, they're athletic department people, but like it doesn't make any sense.
That's
So
the NCAA. That's the chaos that the NCAA has created.
and we know all about the NCAA and what they do. Yeah.
That's another issue. That's another issue. They need oversight. They need oversight.
There's no oversight.
But the point of 100% they need it. And I know I hope and pray that the congressional and the senatorial and even the president of the United States makes and takes the steps to stop the NIL. Look at Pitt right now. They got 2 stars, a quarterback and a tailback. Okay, they're not even getting paid, and they're not even getting paid, Andrew. And look at these receivers for State College. So the point I'm making to you is no matter what, no matter when, no matter how, you just look at Penn State wrestling. They got all these studs from Pennsylvania, right? And they're just taking numbers. Do you understand? And Pennsylvania has so many athletes that Pitt, Penn State, and Temple should be on the top of their conferences every year, year in and year out. And the fact that they're not means that these coaches aren't doing that great of a job. Now, the Temple guy, I know him, Casey Keeler, he's a great guy. It's his first year, so let's see where he goes there. But they stink. They're getting beat by everybody. But hopefully he's going to build off of the scraps in Pennsylvania. They call them the scraps. But I would tell you, we're so loaded. If Penn State gets the right coach, like they did for wrestling, right? Like they did for wrestling.
To the moon.
To the moon. And God only knows the last 2 guys were pathetic. Okay, and even the former coach, look, he was there just trying to break a record. So he should have been gone and retired 10 years earlier. Do you understand?
Yep.
So the Penn State.
Penn State hasn't had a championship level from the jump, a championship level coach since the early 90s.
I would say the late 80s. But
late 80s, early 90s. I mean, I'd say 94. Kerry Collins and all them.
I would tell you he was on a dime, just making money and just trying to be the most winningest coach. And anyone who says that wasn't the case, they're a liar. But here's what I will say to you. Okay, that's why it's so critical that these powers that be, and I know there's a lot of alumni from State College watching this program, and it's so critical that you can just take your time. Pennsylvania's loaded. You get the right coach up there, wow, you're going to take off, and you're going to be able to beat Ohio State, and be able to beat Michigan, and be able to be in the top tier year in and year out. And the same thing with the University of Pittsburgh. They got this guy, they're paying him $7-8 million a year. He's a dork. I mean, he's a loser. You understand? And he has no business being there, but they just don't got the guts to get rid of the guy. You understand? The statements he's made and the calls he's made is just mediocrity. So if Penn State were to be mediocre, keep doing what you're doing, and that's what you're going to get. But I'm not going to go watch. I'm not going to go watch the university play that I played on number 1 teams in the country with some of the biggest players and toughest players ever to play the game. And I would tell you, I just want to come into a close. I wanted to mention Craig Ironhead Hayward. That guy was a big dope smoker. Craig, when I used to want to punch him in the mouth. Honestly, I get in fights with him like Craig. you got to stop this. You got to stop it, man. You got a future ahead of you. So here, man, he smoked dope like all the time, and don't ask me how. Don't ask me how he didn't flunk the drug test. They must have been turning their heads back then. But he's in a grave too from brain cancer, which everyone knows smoking dope causes brain cancer, right? So I would tell you he's got two beautiful sons. I know him. Cam, he's overweight. I left a message for him with one of the coaches. He's got to lose weight. He's got to get his weight down. Man, when he played at Ohio State, man, that kid, he flew around in his first 5, 6, 7 years in the league. He was all over the place. Now, man, he's about 70, 80 pounds. He's reminding me of Goose. He's got a big frame. Now he's up at 330, 340. I mean, I don't know what he weighs, but he's got to lose weight. You understand? Mm-hmm. And he's not really playing that well either with all that weight. So what if that franchise, knowing this, but he's such a star, he's the captain of the team, everyone just shuts their mouth. They don't say nothing to him, right? Mm-hmm. Well, so the point I'm making is, and we're going to close with this, Andrew, until the NFL takes obesity seriously, and the University of Pittsburgh, if you want to look it up, done a study on obese NFL players. It's staggering. It's staggering what's going on, okay? And the trickle down into high school now with these athletes being obese is absurd, okay? Mm-hmm. The drugs is absurd. The fact that the franchises and the leagues let these men smoke dope to go to get down and to get up to play a game is absurd. And the cherry on top, for any idiot, for any sucker to bet money on those athletes that aren't 100% normal is absurd. Stop gambling on sports, okay? It's an epidemic right now. Call up. Look, Andrew made a great point. I'm going to let him close with making the point that doctor said. I mean, talk about what results do you want? What results do you want that doctor?
Right. No, and that's, again, I'll say the quote again. Before telling people what is bad, teach them why, and then how to get what you want. That's the number one thing. So that's what we're trying to do with these conversations we had. So last week we touched on gambling. This week we're touching on, drugs and addiction. And obviously we're talking about athletes who are trying to perform at the absolute highest level. But that also filters down into you in your everyday life, normal people, right? We all have the same bodies. We might not be professional athletes, but we still have the same effects. And our bodies aren't, performing at that level, but we still need to treat them like they are like the special things that God created. So with that, I think that was a great conversation. Again, if you have anyone who's struggling with gambling addictions or drug addictions, please help them, reach out to facilities and call the hotlines to help them get through these tough times. And everyone obviously prays for our friends and family who struggle with these addictions. But
one more point.
Yeah.
The Lord's Prayer, man. Jesus says, "This is the prayer that my Father taught me." This is the prayer that my Father taught me. God Himself, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth, the Alpha and the Omega. He taught Jesus that prayer, man. Say the Lord's Prayer and say it and say it and say it and personalize it if you need to, and have them watch our show. Our show's very encouraging, okay? Mm-hmm. And I know Andrew, one of our friends who watches the show said that we should ask you to subscribe more often.
Yes.
So look, we're not going to sell your name. We're not going to email you. We're not going to do none of that stuff. So subscribe and encourage us. I mean, the numbers are going up. We've had close to 200,000 people watch our podcast in a couple of weeks, in like going on 2 months. So things are awesome. We appreciate you watching us, but we would appreciate if you guys would just, what do they need to do, Andrew? What do they need to do?
Yeah. So always remember to like and subscribe to all our videos. You can find us anywhere that you listen to podcasts, on the YouTube, social media, everywhere. And please reach out with comments and everything. We really appreciate everyone who listens and who interacts with us. It just makes the conversation continue. And all we're trying to do is spread the good word and teach everybody the positive things about sports, and also shine light on shine light on the dark corners and, help everybody as best we can. So in closing, I think this was a great episode, a great conversation, and I look forward to having more conversations. And I want to thank everybody for listening, and have a great day.